My name is Moni, M-O-N-I. Last name's Law, L-A-W. I'm a resident of Berkeley, UC Berkeley alum. Practiced law for 25 years in Washington State, and I'm a member of the Way Church. It's beautiful Saturday morning out here. We're actually celebrating community, coming together for our unhoused neighbors to really fight for them so that they can also be housed. So we brought it to the steps here literally of the legislature because they're the ones who create the legislation, the policy, the funding to make the programs available that will help our neighbors to be housed and to get services. So I had the honor of painting one of these blessing planks, they're called. So they're prayers and blessings that will surround the tiny home village. So in Oakland, there's a tiny home village that are all art murals around every individual house, a yurt, a community room, a kitchen, a store, and then these planks are along the fence line. They're going to do the same now at the Richmond village. So they're just starting now. It's opened, a tiny home village in Richmond for young people who are unhoused and have been on the streets. Very risky, dangerous life on the streets, nowhere to go. They now have a place. And so the people in different churches, synagogues, they come together, from mosques and various multi-faith communities and community members in groups will go out there on a day and volunteer with lots of paint and a blank fence post, and then they write your own statement on it.
Awesome.
So you'll see things like happiness, this too shall pass, music is good for the soul. Just really uplifting messages for those young people who have had a really hard time in their life.
So tell me, are these boards going to be for the neighborhood in Richmond?
Richmond.
Okay, so when do you think that these will be up?
I think they're going up from here to Richmond, and then that activity will start to place them there, and we thought we'd place them before the legislature first. So around our state home here, of our governor, our state legislators, we're putting the fence around them to maybe influence their minds and their hearts to make this possible. So more funding and support for that. There are specific demands that are being delivered today. So the young people are actually delivering the demands to the state legislators about what's needed. And they know from lived experience. So that's what's happening.
So you're saying some of the people out here today are youth, unhoused youth?
Unhoused youth, now housed either at the Oakland site or also at the Richmond site. And they have on-site staff, they have community meetings, and they create their own reality. It's beautiful to see. Very sharp, bright, brilliant people who just haven't had an opportunity. And I've seen it happen in Berkeley when they developed the Berkeley site that ended up in Oakland. In Richmond, they've done a similar pathway, building from the people who know it and who need it, with some support from the community, and then of course the funding. And they get skills, development, training, education. They're learning entrepreneurship and their art. So art you'll see a lot here because they often have actually on site or with their programming interns who are artists. And so they learn to express themselves through art. And quite a few of them are extremely talented, and they sell their artwork to support themselves. So they learn entrepreneurship, and they have a gallery, and they have an art show. It's just brilliant. It's fantastic. It's a great thing to be a part of, and I'm really honored to be here today.
So in response to this, what do you guys want to see some sort of concrete response from the legislators in result of a demonstration like this?
So concrete would be actual services. So there's all kinds of legislation and bills about building mental health institutions and institutionalizing people. That's not answering the problem of how do you prevent them from getting that illness, and how do you treat it, and how do you get them housed in community. So we really want to look at preventative services, treatment, mental health services, addiction services, and also people to have affordable housing when they are out, and job training to build them into long, sustainable life. Because what you find often is people will just slip off, and there's no case management, there's no regular routine coordination, and they're back on the street. So in Berkeley, I know I've been there for a number of years, and there are 1,000 unhoused people, disproportionately black and brown. People who formerly lived in Berkeley, displacement, gentrification, moms, grandparents lost houses and such, or whatever was happening in their life from discrimination and institutionalized racism and situations. They now are housed in these tiny home villages. And then they build their skills and their confidence, their community network, and then they're at some point off to college, into a career, into building back into the community. So that whole cycle is actually very effective financially. You're going to spend less money, state legislators, by doing prevention and treatment and long-term coordination of that community to support that person than just throw them in an institution for a while, they get back on the street without any support. I think it's very timely as far as the world vision for the world to say it's possible to come together, to not to be in a violent interruption of your life constantly, but instead building community. So it's really helpful for the state of California also, because everyone's talking about elections, but what's the outcome? What are the people going to do when they're in office? Are they going to have housing that's actually affordable and get homeless people not just housed like a temporary position, but they have wraparound services that makes it possible to stay housed? Because I've seen people lose their housing because they didn't get mental health support or addiction support or any kind of medical support even, and they're back on the street. So I think this is tying together what people in the community know on the ground is people that work with the unhoused and the legislators who are up in their offices who may not see what's happening. They get the view, they get the vision, and they put it in practice as far as the policy. So that's what we're looking for, and funding. We have the concept of California being a progressive state and really grasping on to diversity, but we're falling into so much displacement. This also brings people together where they have opportunity economically from every background, and as you know, probably disproportionately, Black and brown people are on the street and unhoused. And that's a long story about how that happened with institutionalized racism and various things, redlining and everything else from then till now. So I think this also shows a new way and a different way, which is to ensure that we don't have discrimination, we have inclusion, we have diversity, and we don't just talk about it, we do it. So that's what I think all these programs that are here today are about.
We will be beginning with an opening prayer message by Moni, a member of The Way.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing on this beautiful day? So, good afternoon. I bring you good tidings from my pastor, Michael McBride in Berkeley, The Way Church. Also, I'd like to thank Reverend Sally Heineman, who invited me to present to you this morning or afternoon. And most importantly, all you young people who do a lot of hard work. Thank you for what you do. And all the adults who support them. So we're gathered here on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, graced with sunshine, surrounded by hope, filled with love, and thankful for community who care about the unhoused. So what is the principal tenet of most faiths? What would you say is the word that describes most faiths?
Love your neighbor as yourself.
Love your neighbor as yourself. Also love your neighbor, including your strangers, and that's in Leviticus from the Jewish text, and in the Christian text, and in almost every religious text. Love is the central tenet of faith. And we are here in love, and you know what kept happening? The word kept showing up wherever I was turning when I was coming here today. So to me, that's an affirmation that we're building this community in love, right? Yeah. I see a fist up there. Right? Yes. Okay, and when you love someone, what do? You love them unconditionally.
Yes!
Not looking away because they're unhoused, dirty, and they're talking to themselves. Not because they're having imagination kind of conversations, or they just don't seem normal. We love each and every person, and what does another part of Scripture say? Beware of treating strangers because you may be entertaining angels unawares. There's a pastor over there or something. He's just like repeating my scripture before I even say it. But you must be. I love that. So what I want to say to you today, just very briefly, is that too many of us pass by our neighbors who are unhoused, and I do it every day, but I try to stop and say hello, offer water, offer a greeting, offer a sign of love. The people that we see all too often are Black and brown, disproportionately for various reasons, including institutionalized racism, displacement, poverty, and lack of services. And that's why we're here at the state legislature today, to provide a list of demands to our legislators to provide the services and the funding that are necessary to build such places as the Tiny Home Village in Richmond and other places throughout the state of California. Can we hear it for the Tiny Home Village model? So this action today is rooted in a sea of unconditional love, pouring out in the form of prayer blessings on these fence posts, They are art and they are expressions of care for our unhoused and our friends and strangers in our community, and these planks will be around the Richmond village, surrounding those young people with love that is painted in various expressions and statements here. So do believe today that you all are going to make a difference. This is a historic moment. How many more of these can we hold in the state and throughout the country where people will come together to build community and a place of love, housing all unhoused people? No family should be unhoused. I saw a woman with her child on the street near a fancy restaurant in North Berkeley, unhoused. We started a group called The Thread, and we started helping people to pay for a hotel for a few nights, because guess what? There's no shelter for women with children in Berkeley. That needs to change. Young people on the street is not a safe place to be. They need to be housed and loved and supported. So let's develop this, and God bless this day. God bless these planks that are going to surround the home and the work that all the people are doing here to love our community and make it better. Let's make a message, let's show it, and show the way to be a better community and stronger in love. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share. God bless. A very famous quote is very pertinent today, and it's by Dr. Cornel West. And he said, justice is love in public, so in action. So justice is seen when we love and action. So all this action is essentially love, which will become justice. So that was the beginning of the theme, and that's the end. And thank you, everybody who came today, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you, young people. You're awesome MCs. Give it up for the MCs. And Sally, Brother Sally Harmon, Mr. Thompson, and Paul. Good job, rest of us.